So we're going to my high school. So when I'm back home in Fairfield, I usually train here. Being able to be in here by myself is really nice. Not having to go to a public gym, especially with all my compulsions and stuff. Public gyms can be pretty tough to be in. So a lot of my compulsions are centered around the obsession of my family dying or losing people that I love. It always attacks whatever you love. So it attacks training, it attacks my work life, it attacks my relationship, it attacks my family and my faith. So it really debilitates everything that matters to you. When I was at my worst in high school and beginning of college, I was doing 12 to 14 hours, and when you're doing 12 to 14 hours, that leaves 10 hours of sleep, schoolwork, social life, training. So for me, it wasn't enough time in the day to do any of that. So it got to the point where, I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to sleep. It was just I was just a zombie, really. When I would wake up in the morning and just knew that my day was going to be, it was going to be shit. It was going to be absolutely excruciating anxiety if I tried to fight it. And, it was just tough to get past a lot of the time.
What I always tell my patients when they say, well, Liz, how do I know if it's OCD or not? My response is what's the difference between OCD and other thoughts that aren't OCD? And the big difference for us is always the urgency, right? With OCD, it feels urgent, it feels critical, it feels like life or death. It feels like you have to engage immediately. We have these rituals that we have to go do, and actually as soon as we start the ritual, and we're doing the ritual to try to feel better, so as soon as we start it because we want to feel better, we end up feeling worse because more stuff happens, right? The feelings, the thoughts, they're rooted in reality somewhere, right? Little things happen and tend to keep happening that make us feel worse or that make us feel like we need to do these behaviors. And then we get stuck feeling like we can't stop and feeling like it's not enough. You come up with a million things to say and to tell people because you know what you're doing makes no sense, but at the same time, you don't feel like you can stop.
All right, so we're here at the gym. This is my high school, the old stomping grounds. So right there, my mind just caught up, and it's just I did that 10 times because on the 5th time that I did it, didn't feel just right. So,
What thought was that attached to?
So a thought attached to that was that, my parents are gonna die in a car accident, and it puts that intense fear into my mind that I can't. To me, it's all right, I'll do that compulsion to save their lives. It's minuscule compared to losing them, so why don't I just do it? And that's kind of how OCD traps you.
So I think that Tom said it perfectly, right? That that's how it traps you. And what we know with OCD is that it tends to become centered around the things that are most important to us, right? Of course, any of us with OCD wish that we were worried about some random person we don't know, right? But it attaches to the people that we love most, the things that are most important, the values that we hold highest. And that's why it's so hard in that moment for us to dismiss it, because though the rituals suck, it's really hard to compartmentalize them of okay, these rituals stink and I don't want to do them, but the risk feels way greater, right? And so we get stuck engaging in these behaviors.
So obviously there's different types of OCD. Mine's more centered around just right. So I do things in multiples of 5 until it feels just right, and then I can stop doing it. So just loading the bar up, and certain things like putting clips on the bar, and getting my shoes on, just things like that I know are going to provoke anxiety and take away from my time training. So I know that's always gonna be a thing in my life. Sometimes I get lucky and it feels right on the first try. There you go.
for a person with OCD who needs to feel right, it's almost like you have to just redo the behaviors again and again and again until you get that, okay, it feels right. I mean, it happens even with like artists, you know, when you're doing a piece of art, you know, you're just doing it until, you know, this feels right. Music composers have that experience where it's just this rhythm, this tone, it just sounds right. So that just right feeling, we all experience it. Now, a person with OCD needs that just right feeling all the time, and that's not realistic. So when a person with OCD is doing things again and again and again to get that just right feeling, that's the compulsion.
Yeah, I mean, once I get going, I mean, obviously putting the hooks on, putting clips on, loading the bar up, it all can be kind of troublesome, but once I get going, it just lets me just kind of relax my mind. Like when I'm in here, like this is my time to myself, this is my time of kind of serenity for me, peace, and so I want it all to be about this, not anything on the outside world. I can't worry about, you know, my compulsions or my obsessions. I got to make sure I lift, don't hurt myself. So it kind of puts me in a place where I actually need to be safe, focus on what I'm doing. Training is all about a process of getting better and bettering yourself and reaching a goal. And to me, like, training is an instant. You know, I got into therapy. I didn't want to go to therapy. I didn't want to do ERP treatment, but I was able to get to the point where it was like, oh, this is helping me. Like, this is saving my life. And this medication is important because it is helping me and saving my life. So just seeing that process and falling in love with that process. Like I always tell my athletes, the weight room is character revealing. You know, who you are inside here usually translates to out there. Build yourself up in here so that out there you're ready for what comes to you and what obstacles you have to face.
So the gold standard treatment for OCD is what's known as exposure and response prevention, or ERP. And the way it works is essentially what you have to do is you have to confront the things that trigger the intrusive thoughts that you have, and you have to do it repeatedly. So many times people are, of course, really uncomfortable with that because it's supposed to make you uncomfortable. Well, the paradox is that when you confront those things through exposure, what happens is your brain learns a new non-threatening association. So in other words, the anxiety and the stress ultimately goes down, but more importantly, your brain teaches you that your amygdala and your limbic system and all that stuff in the brain that's activated when I'm encountering something, it's not activated when I'm confronting those things, and therefore I can associate that with safety as opposed to danger and threat. So we confront those things repeatedly, teaching you a new non-threatening association, but at the same time, we prevent any compulsion or ritual from taking place.
There's like one thing in particular that I'll never forget. Honestly, like, my high school was really supportive. Probably half the reason I got to college was because of my dean, Jeff Saganos, and the counselors here. I'll never forget, like, I used to walk on specific tiles in the school, and one time I left class to use the bathroom and I got kind of stuck on a tile, and he actually walked me back to class. And I just remember I'm always looking down, like, at the tiles that I'm stepping on, and I like stumbled into him. Like I looked up, and he was he was really, really confused, like, what I was doing. And this is when I wasn't diagnosed. So I got diagnosed my sophomore year of high school. So my freshman year, I was doing really, really bad in school, and people were kind of labeling me as lazy. But the reality was, like, people with OCD are always working like double as hard as the people next to them because they're trying to get past these compulsions to get everything done. And so once I was able to kind of explain that to my teachers, they were really understanding for my next 3 years. And I mean, they really, really helped me get to college. Honestly, I think if I went to a different high school, I don't think I would have made it to the place I was at. It's going to Siena College, and then now just graduated with my master's degree. With the exposure response therapy is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy, and what it does, it's specific to OCD because it exposes you to the thought and then you have to resist the urge to do a compulsion to counteract that thought. And so you have to sit with like extreme discomforting anxiety for as long as it takes to calm down and release that thought. And so people think, like, when I say I'm going to therapy, that it's just like I'm laying down on the couch talking about my feelings, and it's just not the case. Like, it's hard work. It's hard work. Like, I'm exhausted at the end of therapy because mentally it's just draining. Emotionally, just pushing past thoughts that feel so real, it can be really, really draining. And then it takes so much out of you, and to like give as much as I want to the people I love, like it's so tough. And like I just hope they realize how much I'm trying for them.
Imagine that you're supposed to be meeting with a loved one. And I want you to picture that loved one in your mind. I want you to get a really good picture of them. And let's say it is 3 o'clock now, and you're supposed to be meeting with that loved one. And that loved one is a no-show. From 0 to 10, at this point, where would your discomfort level be? It's 3 o'clock, they didn't show, it's kind of their MO, probably, a 1. However, let's say now it's 6 p.m. They still haven't shown. They're not at the door. You're calling them, they're not answering. Where would your discomfort level be now? It's probably creeping up there, close to 10, right? Now, let's say it's now midnight, and they still haven't shown. You haven't been able to reach them. You haven't been able to find anything after hacking into their social media and emails. Where would your discomfort level be now? What are some of the thoughts that would be going through your mind? You'd probably be thinking of all sorts of horrific images, all sorts of accidents that might be happening to this loved one. And would you be able to sit still and read a book and pay attention and think about it and just get over it? No, you wouldn't. And now imagine this happening 24/7 of your waking moment. This is what an OCD sufferer truly experiences. So would you be able to just get over it? That's what it feels like.
I think what scares me most about OCD is just the fact that I can slip back to where I was pretty easily, and the fear of kind of coming up short for people I love, and not being able to provide for people and give to people and actually be there for other people. And I think in my relationship and with my family relationships, like I just want to be there for my friends, my family, my girlfriend, and sometimes I just can't, and I don't want to get to that point where I can't leave my bed anymore, back like I was at my worst. And I think just the fact that could happen, something can trigger me, and if I don't keep up with this maintenance work of therapy, that can happen really fast. I like to come here sometimes. I used to come here a lot after therapy. My therapist's office is pretty in Westport, was a town over. I mean, my mom used to come. She used to pick me up from therapy, and because at the time I couldn't drive, and we used to just come walk my dog here, and like off season. So it's just a pretty special place, and just good kind of relaxation space for sure.
How have you seen Thomas grow in his OCD?
I couldn't believe that he had gotten his master's, after everything he had gone through. And so for me, that was probably one of the most proud moments I've had recently. But every day is a proud moment.
Thomas has surprised me every day. He's surprised me every day. Every day.